Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CRJ 155, Introduction to Criminal Justice. My name is Dr. Jonathan Wolf, and I'm really happy that you're here, that you've decided to take an Introduction to Criminal Justice class, whether you're a criminal justice major or you're taking this class for personal knowledge, or you just want a little bit of information about the criminal justice system. Again, I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you through this online course. A little bit about the course description. This is the catalog description found in Westmoreland County Community College catalog. Um, the course description is the history, development, and philosophy of law enforcement in a democratic society, as well as an introduction to modern agencies of criminal justice will be discussed. Criminal justice as a career field will be examined, and the criminal justice flowchart and processes will be illustrated. The learning objectives for the course, really the purpose of the course, in other words, the first one is to articulate the foundations of criminal justice, including definitions, topologies. Topology would be a framework or examples of something. Measurement issues, in other words, how do we measure crime? And we'll talk about the law. We'll examine the development of policing organizations, strategies, and challenges faced by police. We will explain the structure and processes of the judiciary at the local, state, and federal levels. We'll also identify goals, methods, and effectiveness of various forms of corrections. And we'll also talk about important criminal justice issues and their impact on society. The course outcomes, they're plentiful. So after successfully completing the course, students will be able to define crime and the criminal justice process, distinguish between differing punishment philosophies, illustrate how historical criminal justice systems affect today's law, summarize how constitutional limitations apply to criminal law, identify agencies of the criminal justice system. We'll summarize pertinent factors affecting criminal justice today. We'll describe the process of lawmaking in a democratic society, be able to give examples of future trends in criminal justice, interpret criminal justice measuring devices. That is, how do we know how much crime there is? We'll also appraise criminal justice today. And what that means is we'll look at the criminal justice system today, 2026. We'll recognize special problems in criminal justice. We'll summarize the history of criminal justice, compile a list of sources of criminal justice research, demonstrate knowledge of accepted practices in criminal justice, talk about future trends in criminal justice, and we'll also evaluate the criminal justice system and juvenile justice system. Before we begin, let me introduce myself, and we'll talk about the course format and tips for success. As I mentioned in the intro video, my name is Dr. Jonathan Wolf. I was recently hired as an assistant professor of criminal justice at Westmoreland County Community College. I am a full-time employee. This is my full-time job, and I am 100% committed to your success. Prior to teaching at Westmoreland County Community College, we go way back. I was a community college student myself in the late 90s. After graduating high school, I attended Harrisburg Area Community College. And after completing 2 years there, I did transfer. I transferred to Penn State main campus, where I earned a bachelor's degree in administration of justice. And it wasn't long after graduating from Penn State that I was hired by the Pennsylvania State Police, and I worked at various locations throughout the state of Pennsylvania. I'm from the Harrisburg area, and luckily I was assigned out of the State Police Academy to Troop J Lancaster. Troop J Lancaster covers Lancaster County, Chester County, going out east towards Philadelphia, and I worked in both of those counties. I gained a lot of experience in a very short amount of time working out there, and then transferred to Troop H Harrisburg, where I was assigned to Troop H Chambersburg. Also, a very busy location. Chambersburg is right in the middle of the state, south central Pennsylvania, at the very southern border towards at the Maryland border. I worked there for a couple years, and then I transferred again to my home county, which is a little bit north of Harrisburg, where I worked there for a number of years. Later on in my career, I have been a faculty member. I have taught for many years. I've taught part-time, I've taught full-time. And currently, I work as the chief of police for a department in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, where I've worked there for 5 years. I manage officers. I handle calls. I am a working chief. I also, prior to accepting the position at Westmoreland County Community College, I worked in downtown Pittsburgh, where I worked as a police officer in the city, downtown, for Point Park, where I experienced a wide variety of calls, wide variety of crime issues. And throughout the course, I will share those different experiences with you. So that's a little bit about my background. I really enjoy teaching. I like law enforcement. I am currently a certified municipal police officer. I do put the uniform on and go out to work. Later today, as after I'm done recording this video, I will put my suit on, so to speak, and I will go out there and I will patrol the communities in Somerset County, handling calls, doing traffic stops. So I'm working this as I'm teaching. A couple things that I want to talk about as far as the course goes. We'll chat about the course format and some tips for success. The online course that I've created, this Introduction to Criminal Justice, is really designed to replicate or mimic the in-person criminal justice course. During the fall semester, I'm teaching this online course, but I'm also teaching a face-to-face Introduction to Criminal Justice course, and the two mirror each other. Students will get the same experiences as they would in taking either modality, whether it's face-to-face or in person. The material is the same. Some of the differences, though, with the online course, the assignment's a little bit different. We'll do discussions and those types of things, just things we can't really, it's difficult to replicate otherwise. Assignments will vary from in-person class to reflect an online format. Discussion assignments, as I mentioned, may differ slightly. In an in-person class, the discussion will be face-to-face kind of in a moment, but in the online course, the discussions will be predetermined, and I will ask you a set series of questions, and I'll have you respond to some things. We'll talk to each other in class. The best advice I can give you is try to stay on track with the weekly course videos. There will be 1 or 2 videos with a presentation every week. I don't use PowerPoint. The presentation that you're looking at now is called eMaze, and that's how I will have all of my lecture material. It'll be narrated with a video. Please reach out to me if you need any help. I am here to support you. There's a lot of material for this class, so please let me know if you need any help. Introduction to Criminal Justice, this is my favorite class to teach. There's a lot of material, but it's going to help you as you continue on your criminal justice degree at Westmoreland County Community College. But again, please reach out to me. I'm very, very quick to respond. If you send me an email, I will respond most likely within a minute or so, or shortly after I see the message. So here we go. Day 1, Introduction to Criminal Justice. This is the beginning of the material. I will break the material down into a video or 2 a week. For the first few weeks, there'll be 2 videos per week. Some weeks will have 1 video, depending on the material. You can certainly rewatch these videos if you want to. You can scroll through the slides. Whatever it is you need to do to learn the material, I'm here to support you. Also, I want to mention to you that the textbook for this course is free. It is an online textbook. You don't have to pay anything for it. The links are available to you as you log into D2L. You'll see the link to the course textbook, so you don't have to purchase anything. It's already there, embedded into the course for you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is crime. I have 25 years of experience dealing with crime and bad behavior. I first became a state police trooper all the way back. I started the academy, State Police Academy in 2001. I graduated in April of 2002, and right away I was exposed to crime and bad behaviors. I have a lot of experience investigating and handling different types of crime. There isn't too many calls that I haven't seen. So according to your textbook, crime is defined as the violation of the laws of a society by a person or a group of people. So somebody does something in violation of the law. So number 2 here on your slide, it simply says, so crime is defined by the government, the federal government, state government, or local government that have the power to create laws. And essentially, crime is what the law says. And a violation of the law would make actions criminal. The picture I have here is the Crimes Code of Pennsylvania 2026 edition. This is where police officers go when they have to enforce the law. They reference the Pennsylvania Crimes Code, Title 18, is a very thick book. I would imagine now it's at least 4 inches thick, possibly more. And it has all of the different crimes that are outlined in as far as violations in Pennsylvania. There's violent crime, there's property crime, there's drug crime, there's different crimes against people, crimes against businesses, major crimes, minimum crimes, small crimes, all kinds of different crimes. And it details word for word what that crime says. So one of the jobs of a police officer is to match up a person's behavior to what the law says and attach a corresponding crime. So, for example, if a person appears in a public place under the influence of alcohol, and let's say they're stumbling, they're falling down, that's a violation of law. It's called public drunkenness. It is a summary violation, meaning a person could receive a non-traffic citation for being intoxicated in public. But again, police have to match up a person's behavior to what the law says. Are they committing a property crime? Did they steal something? Did they break something of somebody's? To what the law says. So that's the Crimes Code, Pennsylvania Crimes Code, Title 18. There's also Pennsylvania Title 75, the Vehicle Code. And the Vehicle Code has all the different traffic law violations. So if a person is speeding, if a person runs a stop sign, if they run a red light, if they don't wear their seatbelt, if they're following too closely, if they make an illegal turn, that's Title 75 of the Vehicle Code. So now that you know the definition of crime and know where crimes can be found, Title 18, Pennsylvania Crimes Code, or Title 75, Pennsylvania Vehicle Code, let's move on. First thing I want to talk about on this slide is what is criminal justice? So what are you actually studying? Criminal justice, very simply, is the study of police, courts, and corrections. And throughout police, courts, or corrections, there's a lot of job opportunities out there in each one. More so in police and corrections than the courts. Although the courts, there are jobs available. However, for criminal justice students, sometimes it's easier to find a job working in the police or law enforcement or corrections than it is the courts. But not always. Sometimes students are successful and they want to work for the courts. Maybe they want to be a paralegal, a legal assistant, or something like that. And with an associate's degree in criminal justice, you would be qualified to do that. You probably need a little bit more training if you're just a criminal justice major, but you would be able to work for a law office doing different tasks, research, and things like that. I've known students. I know one particular student that was an education major, and I had worked at another college where I was director of education, and I was looking to fill a position as a legal assistant instructor. She had 5 years experience working for an attorney. She wasn't a criminal justice major. She wasn't even a legal studies major. She was an education major, but got that experience. So if that's what you want to do, you could do that with a degree in criminal justice. So let's talk about the differences between police, courts, and corrections. And I want you to carefully look at this slide and see if you can notice the similarities. So there's one activity in here that all three police, courts, and corrections personnel carry out. And if can you notice it as you scan through here? And if you said number 4 on police, or number 3 in courts, or number 4 in corrections, protect rights and freedoms, you would be absolutely correct. So what do the police do? So the police enforce the law. As I said, if they're local police, state police are going to enforce in Pennsylvania, Title 18, Pennsylvania Crimes Code. Police also investigate crime, they prevent crime, and they protect the rights and freedoms of people. The courts. Let's talk about the courts. What do? The courts conduct fair and impartial trials. They'll decide criminal cases. And number 3, they protect rights and freedoms. Last one is corrections. There's a lot of job opportunities in corrections where people can make a lot of money. So I would encourage you, if you've never looked at corrections as a career, I would encourage you to potentially consider that as a job opportunity, whether you work for a local jail or the state prisons or even the federal correctional system. There's a lot of money to be made in any of those, more so at the state and federal level. Local jails don't pay a lot of money because they're at the county level, but it's a good stepping stone to the state prison where you'd make some good money, especially with overtime, or the federal system, which is really good. So what do corrections do? They carry out sentences. They provide for safe custody of inmates, rehabilitate offenders, and protect rights and freedom. That's so very important. Out of all these, police, courts, and corrections, I can tell you that police officers typically have the most complaints, I would say, about the court system. Generally, police officers don't enjoy going to court, where they are questioned and sometimes berated by a defense attorney, and their actions are scrutinized. I am in court several times. I would say several times a year. Sometimes it's more often than that. Sometimes not. It just depends what I have going on. The court system, I've been to court in many counties throughout Pennsylvania, including Lancaster County, Chester County, Dauphin County, Franklin County, Somerset County, and Allegheny County, mainly at the local district court level, district justices. So district justice, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the course, but if you get a speeding ticket or something like that, and you want to plead not guilty, then you would ask for a hearing, and the hearing will be held at a local district justice court. Every county has several of them, and they have different areas that they're responsible for. Moving on. So some of the goals that we're going to want to accomplish today and in this particular presentation is to describe the criminal justice system. After all, you may be a criminal justice major. You may not be. Over the years, I've had students that they would take this class and they were just interested in it. They could be a business major. They could be a nursing student. They just wouldn't have some knowledge, some information. They take it as an elective. But if you're taking a course in criminal justice, I want you to know what the criminal justice system is. Another thing that I do in this course, or rather I don't do, is I'm not teaching you the book, right? So I am teaching you information that is relevant, things that an introductory course should have, not necessarily what a textbook author has written. I've found over the years, and this is why I don't make students purchase a textbook for this class. I have found that some authors of textbooks were never police officers. One of the best or most popular introduction to criminal justice books, that author unfortunately passed away. And his books are still being published. They're still being used in criminal justice courses. And that person was never a police officer. He has not worked in the criminal justice field. I believe he had some minimum amount of experience a very long time ago. And then I understand, they have different editors and stuff, but I'm not teaching you the textbook. I am teaching you, these notes are my own notes. The material is my own material. It's not the textbook, although we will use the textbook as a resource, as a supplement. I'm not just teaching you things you can read out of your textbook. So let's describe the criminal justice system. What are we looking at here? So the first thing we'll talk about are the goals of criminal justice. One of the goals I have here on the slide is just doing justice. What does that mean? That is really the basis for rules, procedures, and institutions. So to break it down a little bit further, I have here in lowercase a, offenders will be held fully accountable for their actions. So one of the goals of criminal justice is that to have offenders be accountable for their actions. B, the rights of people who have had contact with the system will be protected. I have a misprint there. So just the rights of people who have contact with the criminal justice system, whether you're a witness, a defendant, or a victim, will be protected. We have to protect the rights of the accused. And C, those who commit similar crimes will receive similar punishments. So in theory, those things are supposed to happen. In the real world, though, that doesn't always happen. But those are the goals. Next thing, the criminal justice system is also designed to control crime. Number one here, it says the criminal justice system is created to control crime, and two, efforts must be carried out within the framework of the law. You may, if you are a criminal justice student, take the criminal procedure course. And the criminal procedure course is all about how police officers, law enforcement, people in what we call a courtroom work group operate and do their job within the framework of the law. When I go out on patrol later this afternoon, by the way, it's Saturday right now. I'll be working Saturday evening. If I encounter a person that I have to arrest, I'm gonna make every attempt, every effort to respect the person's rights and do things within the framework of the law. And what do I say? I'll make every effort. Every effort is I'm going to attempt to do that. Everything that I can do to make sure that person's rights are upheld. Criminal justice system is also designed to prevent crime. So we have the criminal justice system to punish individuals who violate the law, and also to serve as a deterrence to others from violating the law. And number three, it says citizens can take simple actions to prevent crime. Sure, locking your car doors is one way to prevent crime. Walking in pairs if you go to a city, for example. So as a police officer working in downtown Pittsburgh, my patrol area where I work, if you're familiar with this city, would be Wood Street, Boulevard of the Allies, Smithfield Street, 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, and Forbes Avenue. That's my patrol area. Also, a little bit on First Avenue and the Mon Wharf, Market Square. I also do patrols through there. But if you're familiar with downtown Pittsburgh, that's my patrol area. Boulevard of the Allies, First Avenue, Third Avenue, Wood Street. And a lot of times I'll see individuals walking late at night. Maybe they've went to a restaurant or something in Market Square. They're by themselves, and that's risky, right? So downtown Pittsburgh has individuals. They may not have the best intentions. And one way to prevent crime, to help prevent crime, would be locking your car doors, walking in pairs, those types of things. I've handled a lot of different types of crime in the city of Pittsburgh, from drug crime, violent crime, to people stealing, people robbing people robbing banks, people doing all kinds of different bad behavior. Some things can be prevented, some things can't be prevented, but I always encourage people to try to take simple steps to prevent them from being a crime victim. The next thing we'll talk about is that criminal justice is a system. And what do I mean by that criminal justice is a system? So the criminal justice system, says here, number one, is a complex whole made up of interdependent parts: police, courts, corrections. Lowercase a says actions of police have an effect on all other parts of the system, courts and corrections. So without the police, there would be nobody going to court unless it's a civil matter, which we'll talk about later. But there would be nobody going to a criminal court without the police. Nobody's going to prison or jail without the police. Every person that is in jail or prison has been arrested or charged by a law enforcement officer. So it's a system. It's a system made up of interdependent parts, right? So police, courts, corrections. Police have their goals, courts have their goals, corrections have their goals. But as we said earlier, protecting the rights and freedoms of everybody is the goal of all of us: courts, police, courts, and corrections. A couple characteristics of the criminal justice system, or traits or qualities. You could use any word that you want to there, but I just chose to use characteristics. The first one there is discretion. And what discretion refers to is that officials, police in particular, have the freedom to act based on their own judgment, considering a wide variety of circumstances and options. It depends on the person, the judge, situation, and other factors. And some crimes have a mandatory punishment. So let's talk a little bit about discretion. So this afternoon, after I change out of these business clothes, I'm going to put on my uniform, put on my duty belt, which has all kinds of equipment, or tool belt. I'll put on my tactical vest, radio, and I'm going to go out. I'm getting my patrol car, and I am going to drive around the community and the borough, and I'm going to look for violations of law. So one of the first things I will do is I will do some traffic enforcement, right? I'm a prior state trooper. State police do traffic enforcement. It has been something that has been ingrained in me. So I'm going to be looking for expired inspection stickers on vehicles, or no inspection stickers. I may do speed enforcement. It's going to be Saturday evening till I get out there, so I might be looking for some DUIs, people driving badly. So those are all things that I'm going to be looking for. I will also be looking for criminal activity, and I'll be handling calls for service. That way, somebody picks up the phone, says, I need the police here. Could be a domestic dispute, could be a mental health call, could be anything. I'm going to go out, I'm going to handle those different calls, those situations. So discretion is, I have the ability, it's not just because I'm the chief of police, right? So I am the head law enforcement officer in that community that I work. I report to the mayor, and I report to borough council. The mayor is not a police officer. Nobody on borough council are police officers. I have officers that work underneath me, and I don't really want to use that term underneath because we're all equal, but I am their supervisor. So in the hierarchy of things, So they're beneath me, but they're not in that word. So please don't confuse that. They're just, we're equals. We're equal police. I just supervise them. But we have discretion, right? So if I pull somebody over and let's say I see an expired inspection sticker. So the inspection sticker is on the windshield of the vehicle. In Pennsylvania, you have to get your car inspected every year. And some counties, you need an emission sticker. Westmoreland County, I happen to live in Westmoreland County, but I work in Somerset County. You don't need an emission sticker. So as I'm driving down the road and I'm passing vehicles, I'm looking at their windshield for a valid inspection sticker. If I don't see a valid inspection sticker or I see no sticker at all, I'm going to do a traffic stop. So we are in the month of July. If I see an expired inspection sticker in June, I'm not even going to stop them. I'm not even going to pull them over. If I see the sticker expired in May or prior, I am going to do a traffic stop. Depending on what the person tells me or what I find upon further investigation is going to determine if they're going to get a citation or not. So, for example, if I pull a vehicle over and they have no inspection sticker displayed, I stop them, walk up to the car, identify myself. They say, I just had my windshield replaced. And here's a sticker. It's cut out in the windshield, right? Because when you get your windshield replaced, they cut out the glass part of the sticker. Here it is, valid inspection. Obviously, I'm not going to give them a citation. However, if I do a traffic stop and the person's inspection sticker is from last December, they're going to get a citation, right? Because last December, September, in the fall, 6 months or so, to me, that's plenty of time to get your car inspected. So I give about a month leeway. And sometimes people will say, I just don't have money. I did not have money. Well, your vehicle might not be safe, and that could be why you haven't gotten inspected. This is a citation. You need to get your car inspected. So those are some things with discretion. Some crimes have a mandatory punishment. Domestic violence is one of those. I remember it was about a year or two ago, I responded to a home for a report of a domestic violence incident. And when I got there, I noticed that the female, that she was a teenager, had bruise marks all over her neck, black and blue marks, handprints. And her and her stepfather had gotten into an altercation, and he physically assaulted her. So he was arrested for different crimes related to domestic violence. So I had to make an arrest. And when I make an arrest, that means I took him into custody, drove him to my police department, and he had a virtual court appearance on my phone with the judge through FaceTime. The judge could have directed him to jail. The judge did not. The judge released him, but he had to stay away for a period of time. And ultimately, he ended up getting probation, anger management, those types of things. So some crimes have mandatory punishment. Some crimes have mandatory arrests, such as domestic violence. Moving on. Criminal justice agencies, police departments are usually resource dependent. So this is number one, criminal justice system typically does not produce its own resources, and they depend on other agencies for funding. So what does that mean? If later this afternoon, if I write a ticket to somebody, let's say back to the inspection sticker, let's say the inspection sticker is out of date, I write a citation and issue a citation to that operator of that vehicle. The fine is $25, right? So $25 fine. So, but out of that fine, the total fine is over $100 because there's different fees, right? There's different court fees, EMS charge, CAT fund, many different fees, right? But the actual fine is $25. So my police department does not get the fine money. The borough where I work gets half of the fine money. So they would get $12.50, but that doesn't mean it comes back to the police department. That simply means it goes into the general fund that they could the borough could use to make payroll. They could pay somebody to mow lawn, something like that. So typically resource dependent, right? State police ask for funding every year. Their budget is billions of dollars. They're not producing their own resources. The Pennsylvania Game Commission does produce their own resources in the sense that they sell hunting licenses and things like that. So they do produce some of their own resources by selling hunting licenses, but most depend on other agencies for funding. Okay, moving on. So the criminal justice system, also things are done in specific orders. I have up here a sequential task. Decisions are made in a specific sequence. And we talk about filtering, and all that means is that, so as we said before, if you're looking at this as a system, right? So we have police, prosecution, courts, correction in that order. When police make an arrest, some cases are advanced to the next level. And what does that mean? That means that when you go to a county court or court of common pleas, some cases progress through the court system, and it can be a very lengthy process, especially if it's serious crime. Some are dismissed. Some cases do get dismissed, and most people are never convicted of all of the crimes that police charge them with. So let me give you an example of how some cases are dismissed. When I first started working for the department that I work for, I wasn't really used to working for a local police department. My experience has been with the Pennsylvania State Police. So the Pennsylvania State Police do not enforce local ordinances. And a local ordinance would be something that a township or a borough or a city create. It's a law, right? So an ordinance could be you have to mow your grass, right? A lot of communities have ordinances for grass, right? You have to cut your grass. If you don't mow your grass, then the local police can enforce an ordinance. So one of the first calls that I was sent to was a complaint about somebody's grass. I respond. I observe that the grass is very high. So in the language of the ordinance says that a person whose grass is higher than 6 inches is in violation of that particular ordinance, and they have to mow the grass. Otherwise, they're going to get a fine. The fine's $100. The fine's more expensive than not getting your vehicle inspected, $100. But it also says that the person has 5 days to mow their grass before a citation is issued. So I spoke to the person, the homeowner. I said, you have to mow your grass. You're in violation of the ordinance. Okay, I'll take care of it. That's what she said. Mows her grass. So that was in the fall, right? That was around September. I started with this police department I work for now in August. So September, I get this call about the grass. Next spring goes by, right? So in spring of 2022, another complaint about this lady's grass. So I thought that by me talking to her in person the previous fall, she went back to her old ways, didn't mow the grass. I filed a non-traffic citation against her for violating the grass and weed ordinance. I had a witness come with me. We went to court because the lady said, nah, I'm not paying that fine. I don't think I'm guilty of anything. We go to court and I present my case. I identified myself in court. I am Chief Jonathan Wolf, such and such police department. On this date and this time, I observed the homeowner's grass to be above 6 inches. and violation of the ordinance. So the homeowner says, well, I wasn't notified. The ordinance says you have to notify me. I have 5 days to correct the violation. So I explained to the judge, Your Honor, I did notify the homeowner 8 months prior that the violation, she was in violation of the grass ordinance, and I did not issue her a fine. She mowed her grass. So the judge asked me, since the time you spoke to her in September until now, did you notify her that her grass was too high? And I said no. Judge said, I find her not guilty. And Chief Wolf, you should have sent her a letter notifying her of the violation again, or told her in person. So I did lose that case. That one got dismissed. We ended up changing the ordinance to where I don't have to do that anymore. One letter, your grass is too high, you have to mow it. And those are just some of the wide variety of things that police would be dealing with. So something as simple as not mowing their grass to something as much more complex as a homicide or domestic violence. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about police. What do police do? There's a lot of agencies at each level of government, right? So there's a lot of police at the local level, a lot of police at the state level, a lot of police at the federal level. But it has here number 2 that local police or local governments dominate the police function, right? So there's a lot more local police than collectively or altogether than there are state police. Pennsylvania State Police, about 5,000 troopers. There's a lot more local police out there throughout the state. If you look at Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, combine them all, many, many thousands, probably, I believe 18,000 or so police departments in Pennsylvania alone. What do police do? Well, we talked a little bit about this. The police their job is to keep the peace. Their job is to find violators and fight crime. Their job is to prevent crime. And their job also is to provide social services. This is becoming increasingly more common so far, so that's the extent of police departments are hiring social service workers to respond to calls with police. This is a big one. Social services could be anything from somebody who a mental health issue, a person who is elderly and might need help getting into assisted living. I'll give you an example of social services here, a very recent example. I believe might have been last weekend. I had gotten a phone call from my secretary, right? The borough secretary. And she said that somebody had went to the mayor's house, mayors who I report to, and the lady was having trouble getting trash service in her own name. There was a person that had lived there with her before her son-in-law, and he had trash service in his name. He left, moved out, and stuck his mother-in-law with this $200-some bill. So the trash company said, you have to pay this first before you can get trash service in your name. So I did. I went over to the lady's house. I said, tell me what's going on. She explained the story as I've just explained it to you. And I said, here's what we're going to do. She said, I don't have money to pay for this. She said, I did find a social service agency, Tableland, as it's called in Somerset County, that will help me, but they can't help me for 2 weeks, and this trash is piling up. So here's what I did as a sworn law enforcement police officer. I said, ma'am, I'm going to take care of your trash for you. The borough has a dumpster that we use, and I'm going to dispose of all of your trash that has been piling up, and that way I'll give you 2 weeks to get your bill paid and get trash service in your name. So in full uniform on a Friday evening, I pushed a yellow Pro Disposal large trash can across the street, down the street, across another street, down another street, to the borough building where there's a dumpster. I unloaded everything in the dumpster, came back. She had a shopping cart full of trash. I pushed a shopping cart down the street about a quarter of a mile, unloaded everything in the dumpster, brought her trash receptacle back, brought the shopping cart back, and said, "Ma'am, you're good for 2 weeks. Get your trash service." And that's a courtesy that I did for her. So that's a social service, or that's something non-crime related. It took me about an hour and a half to do all that. Along the way, I did have 3 or 4 people that were out mowing their grass. Say, hey, officer, can I help you? We can load that on my truck. Do you need help? I'll help you push it. I'll help you throw it away. So it's very kind, good supportive community. But that's an example of social services. Let's talk about the court system as part of criminal justice. So we do have what's known as a dual court system. We have a state court, we have federal court, and the court system is in the United States is said to be the most confusing in the world. There's a lot of different courts. Each state does things differently, and laws may be interpreted differently in different states. I have been a criminal justice instructor in New York State. I have taught in the state of West Virginia and, of course, Pennsylvania. And I've taught criminal law in New York. I've taught criminal law in West Virginia. I've taught criminal law in Pennsylvania. And they're all different. So laws may be different in different states, and in fact, they are. And the goal of the courts is to determine if a person that has been charged with a crime, if they're guilty or not guilty. One more slide, and then I have a short video for you that sums up everything we've talked about. The last one is corrections. And in corrections, currently there's about 7 million Americans under some type of correctional supervision, that they're jail, they're in prison. We'll talk about the difference between jail and a prison. Most people who are convicted are under some type of community supervision. That is, they're maybe under house arrest, they're in a halfway house, they're serving their time on probation or parole. So a lot of different people throughout the United States under some type of correctional supervision. That might not mean they're actually in jail or prison or incarcerated, but somebody is watching over them of some type of authority, probation, parole, etc. Okay, next thing is a short video summarizing some of the things we've talked about.
Criminal justice is a complex system and a larger part of the social, political, and economic systems of America. This course will tell you the story. The criminal justice system is made up of 3 separate but equally important bodies: law enforcement, the courts, and corrections. The criminal justice system has evolved over time. What constituted a crime 200 years ago may no longer be relevant, and as society changes and new technologies are created, laws must be created and changed as well. In this course, we'll answer questions such as: how do we control and manage crime? How are laws decided? And why do laws change? This survey course will prepare you for the other courses in your degree program and for a successful career in criminal justice.
Okay, so I hope you found this first week's lesson. This is part 1. We'll do part 2 next. Informative, educational, and please reach out to me if you have any questions at all about anything. When we meet again, we'll go over week 1, part 2, and continue our discussion about the criminal justice system. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or need any help with anything.